So my fondest memory of my mom is when I was out of college. I had bought her a boombox. It was a Chinese song, and we don't understand Chinese, but she loved it. She put it on, and she was dancing all around the house. You could see her smiling and enjoying, and she's flirting with my stepdad too. So that's the fondest memory of my mom. Just because my mom has always been so serious. Her whole thing is like, escape. Her whole thing is about survival. From the period of 1975 to 1979, um, the country was in war. The Red Cambodians, the Khmer Rouge regime at that time, had taken over Cambodia, and they were trying to change the society to like an agrarian society. If you were westernized, if you had any indication of education or even influence from the U.S. or Europe, you were killed. My mom was a widow. Her first husband was in the military. He was in the Cambodian National Army, and he was killed. Then she met my father during this time period as well. But somehow he left her. I don't know the background story of that, but somehow she fled to this refugee camp outside of the border of Cambodia and Thailand. And in that refugee camp, I was born there. In our language, border is pronounced a Dain Prom Dain, which means, yeah, like I said, means border. So my name is actually Dinah. So Adina. So it comes from that word because I was born right on the border. And she lived at this in this refugee camp for a few years, and with my sisters and I have two sisters and myself, and she said that because I was like a cute baby, like everyone took notice, like everyone like was very sympathetic to this poor widow with three small girls. We got sponsored to come to America. We came with a bunch of Cambodians, other refugees. We settled in Birmingham, Alabama. She met my stepfather. He's from Vietnam. They got married. For her, he was a saving grace because he had come to America, for a few years prior. And so he kind of knew the lay of the land a little bit. And, for a widow with three kids, it's kind of a blessing to say, okay, there's some sanctuary here. So it's like always this seriousness about my mom. Like she's working 16-hour days, and we sort of had to grow up quicker, when we were younger. I learned how to cook since I was like 6 years old. I had to take care of my little brothers. Here's my mom who came here. She knew no English. She was working a factory job. She would work cutting vegetables in a plant produce company and till late hours in the morning, and she was getting paid minimum wage, and she worked for that overtime to provide for us. And at the same time, she had 5 kids to fend and try to get food on the table, try to make sure we're all clothed. As a kid, you kind of like, where's mom? What she's doing? She's working. But as an older person, as an adult, I realized that a mother's love, knows no boundaries. She may not have always said it. It's in her actions. That closeness I felt was after, like I said, after college, and when I began to be her caregiver, show her compassion and kindness, and she loved that. I think at one point, a few years back before she died, she had reconciled with me, and she said, I'm sorry that I was rough with you or tough with you, or I didn't choose you. I had some problems with my stepfather. She said, but you're the only one of my kids who was the most sweetest. Like you're the sweet one and you're the good one. And I love you. And this is my mom who never says I love you. And I'm glad we reconciled in that way. I didn't ask for it that day. I remember that's another good, beautiful memory right before she passed. She passed like a couple years later. He came to live with me Valentine's Day of 2014. And this little 3-year-old chunky monkey, he was so cute. But he had, suffered a loss too. Ethan is actually my nephew. So in 2014, my sister had an aneurysm that ruptured, and unfortunately, she passed from that. And I could not imagine my nephew going anywhere else. And here I am, was like a single woman. I had nothing. I just had an apartment, and I was living my life. I was doing my career. I was thinking about going back to school, going to get my master's. I was Ming Den, which means Aunt Den. And I was the fun aunt. I could play with them, I could tickle them, but I could send them home. And I was a little nervous about, welcoming this little child into my house, into my life. At the very beginning, he asked about his mom a lot. He didn't understand death. For a while there, he kept calling me Ming Den, and then out of the blue, somehow, it's like, Ming Den, can I call you mommy? And so for a while there, he switched it to Ming Den mommy. And then he got tired of that. He was like, it's too much of a mouthful. So he just called me mommy from there on. I'm not as stoic as my mom. I'm very affectionate. She withheld that public display of affection. For me, I vowed as a mom that I would never be like that. I would always tell him, I love you, and I care for you. I think she would be proud of the way I'm handling Ethan, the way I'm teaching him, the way I'm raising him. It would be very different from how she raised us. He's been with me 7 years, and we survived each other. I've learned to be a mom, an instant mom. So he explains to his friend, like, I have two moms. I have one in heaven and one here on earth.